The parade is over. Start thinking about that three-peat. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Tuesday here on Dodgers Latest. Amazing day in Los Angeles as the Dodgers paraded through Los Angeles into Dodger Stadium and celebrated their back-to-back championship, 9th in franchise history, and the work begins anew. You can always hit me up right there, Instagram and on X at JRodShow. Love to hear your comments. You're going to be part of the show today. So let's get into it now. Yeah, it was sort of the dirty little secret. Dave Roberts said it, with all due respect to Pat Riley, who sort of patented it literally and figuratively. Can the Dodgers three-peat in 26? Yeah, that seems to be the question. They've already, they're the first National League team since the Big Red Machine, 75 and 76 to go back-to-back. First team since the Yankees, who did it 3 years in a row. They three-peated, 98, 99, and 2000. The question is, can this team do it? Well, the first thing that I think needs to happen is this. You need a major overhaul in that bullpen. At the end of the day, I think the guile, the guts, the veteranship, the experience of being in a deep playoff run, I think helped the Dodgers out. Don't know if we can do it again. That's the question I see. Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan. It's a situation where do you go for a closer, and then who replaces Clayton Kershaw? That's the thing that you got to sort of delve into. Dodgers. For a team that money is no option, at the end of the day, there has to be a smart way to do it. You can't just keep throwing money at things and hope they happen. Remember, they're stuck with Tanner Scott for the next 3 years. It was a 4-year, $72 million contract. So there's 3 more years of Tanner Scott. So it would behoove them to get him right. Maybe it was just mechanics. Maybe it was just not being able to do it in the course of the season. I think there's a home for Tanner Scott. The guy was an all-star. The guy, that's why they got him. That's why he earned that contract. I think there's a possibility there. We saw, Edgardo Enriquez, what could be his role. Will Klein, definitely. I think that's the one guy that I think shocked everybody, how well he pitched. I think the Blue Jays were also kind of out of bullets in that 18-inning game. Maybe they were just trying to end the game by swinging for a home run. Maybe it took them out of their rhythm. But I'd love to see what the Dodgers have to do with Will Klein, to see what his role is. But I think that's the major thing, the bullpen. How do you fix that? And at the end of the day, you look up, there's great run. Dodgers are not a young team anymore. So I think there is some youth there with Andy Pages, but again, it's Freeman, Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith getting along too. It's not a young team. Again, I'm not trying to be gloom and doom. The Dodgers just repeated as championships. I'm thinking they're going to have to inject some young blood in there and definitely talk about that bullpen. Starters are pretty set. Those golden arms of Ohtani, of Snell, of Yamamoto and Glasnow. I think they're rock solid. It's just who's gonna come in the back end, who's gonna be that high leverage guy, and more importantly, who's gonna be the closer in those games. So that's how you get to the three-peat. And there's a big fish out there, folks. That's right, Tarik Skubal. Remember him, Tarik Skubal? Dodgers have been keeping an eye on him. He's the reigning 2024 AL Cy Young Award winner. He's probably going to win it again this year. 13-6 this year, 2.21 ERA, 241 strikeouts, had a whip of 0.89, and it didn't stop in the playoffs either. 1-0 ERA, under 1.5 at 36 strikeouts in 20 innings. Now, listen, he's helped the Tigers get to the playoffs the last 2 years. According to the reports, he wants a new contract. He's coming up on his first big payday, his first big free agent payday. He's 29 years old. He'll be 29 in November this month. So, and from what we've heard, the Tigers and Skubal are almost $250 million apart in a new contract. Enter the Dodgers. So the question is, who could the Dodgers give Skubal? And should they make a trade for Skubal? I think you have an opportunity to get that. Everybody hates the Dodgers anyway, right? They're ruining baseball. Well, Josua De Paula, Jose DePaula is the number one prospect for the Dodgers. He's an outfielder. He's a 13th prospect in baseball. He's going to have to go in this deal, right? Jose DePaula. Jackson Ferris, left-handed pitcher. There's another possibility. But the one that really jumps out at me, I think the Dodgers' best trade bait is Roki Sasaki. I know. He signed a $6.5 million bonus to come over. And the Dodgers essentially have him for the next 6 years at whatever they want to pay him. In other words, the first 3 years of his contract, including this year, could be at the league minimum. As long as they're paying the league minimum, that's it, because he gave him a $6.5 million bonus. So you've got 6 years of control. Well, 5 now. 3 at the league minimum. You can pay him more if you want, but 3 at the league minimum. And then the last 3 years of the contract, he is arbitration eligible. That's when he'll definitely start making some money. And then he can go full-blown free agent after 5 years. So this was year 1 of 6 of team control. Again, 3 years at the league minimum, and then 3 more years at arbitration on top of a $6.5 million bonus. You throw a Roki Sasaki, DePaula, maybe a Jackson Ferris. You get Tarik Skubal. Listen, when you trade for a superstar like that, you never ever seem to get a fair trade. But I think if you're the Tigers, to be able to replenish with Sasaki, whether you want him as a closer, whether you want him as a relief pitcher, whether you want him back as a starter, Sasaki and Ferris and DePaula in the outfield, that might be a nice haul. Then it's up to the Dodgers to come up with salary. He's going to want, in the probably high 30s, low $40 million a year. Can you imagine Tarik Skubal in the middle of that lineup, in the middle of that rotation? He's, somebody has to take Kershaw's spot. And we know the Dodgers are big on having 6, 7, 8 starters in a rotation. Tarik Skubal to the Dodgers is a possibility. Dodgers have the wherewithal. They have the money. Would there be some deferred payments? And more importantly, they have the chips. I think Sasaki and DePaula, maybe Ferris, could get them over the top. Would you want Tarik Skubal? Would you trade Sasaki? Let me know. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that as we get closer. And speaking of free agents, well, the Dodgers are going to have 7 of them. So some money's coming off the books. Michael Conforto is going to be a free agent. Andrew Heaney, Kike Hernandez, Clayton Kershaw, we know is retiring. Michael Kopech, Miguel Rojas, and Kirby Yates. Now, who comes back? Well, we know Kershaw isn't. Heaney could come back as one of those guys that, could be hanging around as a starter. You can get him for cheap. Conforto, I think, is long gone. I don't know how the Dodgers can bring him back. Kike's an interesting guy. We always talk about October Kike. He put on a show at the Dodgers celebration at Dodger Stadium. Good guy to have. Michael Kopech, I think he's a guy that I think there's a lot of possibility there as a possible closer, as a maybe as a spring training contract. He could be something you can definitely look into. Miguel Rojas, he wants to play one more year. Will that be with the Dodgers? Maybe. Does that home run, does that play that we threw out IKF at home plate, does that ensure him another contract for the Dodgers? He's always going to be in Dodger lore now. Interesting to say, and of course Kirby Yates, who had kind of an interesting season. Dodgers got him. He hurt himself. I think Kirby Yates could also be a huge impact to that bullpen. So I think Heaney could come back. I think Kopech can come back on a minor league deal. Heaney and Kopech can come back on minor league deals. Yates, I think they'll bring him back. Kershaw, we know, is retiring. Conforto is out. Then it's up to basically what do you do with Miggy Rowe and Kike Hernandez. I think you bring Kike back. Miguel Rojas, I don't know if you bring him back. And it's after what he did, do you let him go? I don't know. I think that's going to be an interesting part because again, if the Dodgers are trying to get younger, I don't know how getting Miguel Rojas back on the team does that. But it could be a one-year deal. He says he wants to retire after 26. You're not on the hook for more than that. So I don't think it's that bad if they do it. Listen, we will ask you to be part of the show. We always love to hear from you, see what you got to say, and yeah, man. That was an epic Game 7. Perfect closing game for such a competitive World Series, right? I mean, it was such a great World Series. And we were talking about, is it the greatest World Series ever? Well, it's debatable. 2001 Diamondbacks Yankees had 3 walk-offs on it. I think it's one of the great Game 7s. We talked about it yesterday. I think it rivals the 2016 Cubs-Indians Game 7 just because of everything that happened. But I think definitely probably the most competitive World Series we've had in a long time. Just riveting television, the 18-inning game, the great pitching, and all the drama. I think the Dodgers and Blue Jays put on a show. And hey, man, 26 million people watched Game 7. That dwarfed Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So baseball may have its labor issues where we have baseball, after 2027. I don't know. But it's not for the lack of people wanting to watch the game. What a season, what a series, what a team. Thanks, J-Rod. Have a great offseason, and go Dodgers. Yeah, man, listen, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here through the winter as we get into spring training. We talked about Tarik Skubal. We want to know, would you make that trade? Would you throw Sasaki in there to get Tarik Skubal? I think you do. I think whatever it is to get Tarik Skubal, you do. 29 years old, prime of his career. I think you got to do it. Plus, we're going to talk about more free agents. There's Kyle Tucker. He's probably the number one free agent out there in baseball. You see Kyle Tucker in there, and then that affects what the Dodgers are going to do, especially with these 7 free agents. Not big, impactful guys, but they are kind of, they gobble up some payroll. So it'll be interesting what we do there. Remember, hit me up on X and on Instagram at JRodShow. We're going to be here for you every day. Dodgers latest. Love that you've been part of the community. Keep hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, share, and be part of us here on the daily. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and remember, even in the offseason, it's always time for Dodger baseball.